Right. So today we are gonna start talking on passing parameters within Visualforce Page. Within a VF page. What is passing parameters? Passing parameter is passing a value or a variable's value from one part of the page to the other part of the page. Alright. That's a little difficult to understand. Let me put it this way. You must have seen in some websites you get to see a list of records. You might have come across this. On some websites you will get to see a list of records. Find 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And then you have an option of clicking on any one of those, and when you click on one of those, you get to see the details of that selected record in another section maybe, or just below that. You have seen these kind of scenarios. So let's say you are going to a website and you just see a list of, let's say, you're searching for a job and you see a list of jobs, and then you click on a job and then you get to see the details of that particular job on another section, right? So that's what passing parameter is. Okay, that's what passing parameter means. Okay, why do we need passing parameter? Because sometimes it becomes important for us to pass a parameter or pass a value within the page. All right. So this kind of a situation where the end user will click on a record, and then based on whatever record he has clicked on, the other record should get opened. In this, you don't have any other option but to pass the parameter. So once the parameter is passed, the value from here, some value from here will be passed to this section, and this section will show the details based on the value it receives, right? So that's what we are going to do in today's example. So I'll take a simple scenario of displaying all the accounts, okay, on the page. So this is what we are going to do. We'll create a page. Please excuse me if the designing part is not that good. Okay, so on the left side there will be a list of all the accounts, and on the right hand side we will display the details of the selected account. That's what we are going to do. All right. So let's start building this. Okay. So first thing that we need to do is we'll need to create a list of accounts, right? So on this, my standard controller should be account. Record set where we have to define, because it's going to be a list of accounts. So first thing I'll have to create a list of accounts. So that's pretty simple, that we have done in a few other examples also, and we should be able to create the list. Text, page, block, table, value, variable. Okay, Before we create the table, let's do the layout of this page. Alright, let's design this page a little different with a different approach. We're going to write the same code, but firstly we'll do the layout. And any page that you're trying to design, for that page, it's very important for you to do the layout first. Right? Layout first means basically what sort of columns and where, which place you want, what details and all that stuff. So that's very important. Let's say I don't need the sidebar here. Don't need the sidebar. I'll create a page block. Call it passing parameters. Then I will put a page block section to create two columns. And the two columns first will be a page block with title, list of accounts, and one more page block here with title details. Okay, so what I've done here is I've not used any of the components related to displaying the data. I've just done the layout of the page. So it has two columns. One column will have the list of accounts, the other side will have the detail of the selected record, right? And for those doing it two columns, I've used page block section, and then inside that page block section I have one block and I have the second block, right? Pretty simple. So it's a good practice to do the layout first and then try to insert the uh, components inside each section of it. So in this page block, the first one, I need the table. So let me now go ahead and put the table. So now it's just a matter of putting the table here the way we put column value a dot name type industry. Okay, so here it is, my list of accounts. So this is the list of accounts I have, correct? Now on the second section, I need details of the selected account. Okay, so what is the logic which will work here? There's one component called apex detail component which we have used, right? So we are going to use the apex detail component here. Apex detail component. Okay. Now apex detail component has an attribute called subject. You see it has an attribute called subject. In the subject you can supply the ID of a record. If you put the ID of a record in the subject, it will show the details of that particular record. Okay, any ID you supply, it will show you the details of that particular record, right? So all that we need to do is we need to supply the ID of the record. Now, ID of a record ideally should be ID of the selected record, correct? So what I've done here is, if you look into this, on the left hand side I have this list of record. On the right hand side I am using a detail component which requires an ID to show the details of that record, correct? So my job now becomes to supply the ID from the record here to this record. When a record is clicked on, the ID of the record should be taken and it should be passed on to this section. So that's what I have to do. That's the only arrangement I'll have to do. So when the user clicks on a record
Could you
here,
repeat could you repeat?
yeah. So when a user clicks on a record, all that we have to do is we just have to take the ID from that the record which was clicked on. The ID needs to be taken from that record and it needs to be passed on to the right hand side. to the detail component. Correct? That's all we have to do. Okay, so we just have to make arrangement for that. Rest, these components all we have seen, how a page block table is created, how a detail component is used, we know all these things. All that we have to do in this particular example, that when a user clicks on this, the ID needs to be supplied to the other section. So ID needs to be taken and it needs to be supplied to the other section, and that's the objective of this code, passing of parameter. So ID should be passed as a parameter from here to the other section, from this list to this section. All right. Okay. Now how will we do that? Let's have a quick look into that. First of all, you know, first thing that I need to put in place is this record should be clickable. When I'm saying that I should be able to click on the record, first of all, I'll have to make it clickable, right? Right now, at the first place, I'm not able to click on it. So for that, we will convert the name field into a command link. How will we do that? Instead of name, I need a command link. So what is the best way of doing that? Start the column component and then close the column component. Inside this, put the command link. Correct? The way we have used input field, output field, the same way we can use a command link also here. Value equals a dot name. Correct? So this will convert my value into a command link. Since I'm using a command link, I'm required to use form tag also. So let me put apex form. Right? And the header value for the column can be account name. Now the name has become, it has got converted into command links, which means you can click on this. But clicking is actually not doing anything here. I just created it as a command link, but this command link does not have any action. It does not do anything. As of now, it's just a command link component that I've used. Okay. All right. Now the next thing that I have to do, so this part is clear, right? So first of all, convert the name into command link. Now on the click of this command link, I need to define the parameter, or I need to define the ID as a parameter, right? So that's the next thing that we'll have to do. So for that, for defining a parameter, we have another another component called apex param. Okay, so apex param can be used for defining a parameter. Parameter is more like a variable only. In case you are thinking what's a parameter, it's more like a variable, okay, which can hold value. So what I can do is I can click on this and then I can uh, I can define a component called apex param to define that variable. Alright, so apex param value and name. There are two attributes which are important for apex param: value and name. Name is variable name, what variable name you want to give, or what is the name of the parameter you want to give. It can be anything. Okay, it can be p1, p2, whatever you want. Value is what value you want to pass into that variable. So what value we need to pass? The id of the record. So it should be a dot id. Correct. So this is how a parameter can be defined. Now what will happen, and since I want to define this parameter inside this command link, so you should start the command link and end the command link. So I have the command link, and on click of the command link I have this parameter called p1. Okay, the parameter p1 gets the value of the selected record, id of the selected record. All right. Now when I click on edge communication, my parameter gets the id of the selected record. All right. So that's what is happening. How do you see that? See, so the parameter is getting the id of the selected record. And this is the id. I'm just trying to display it to you for you to understand that what is happening actually when we click on it. The value of the parameter changes every time you click on this. See? Right. Now let's use this value. So I was just trying to display the ID to you, but we don't want to display the ID. What do we want? We want to display the details of that record, right? For that, we have this component called detail component. Okay, so all that we need to do here is we just need to go and define that ID as the subject of this apex detail component. All right. So as I told you, there is this attribute subject. Subject takes the ID of a record and it will show the details of that record. Okay. So the format or the syntax for calling the parameter is current page dot parameters dot parameter name. Okay. So current page dot parameters dot whatever parameter name you have. Your parameter name is p1, right? So that's it. Save. Now let's click on Dickinson. Do you see this? On the right hand side it shows you details of Dickinson. You click on United Oil and Gas. Let me remove the related list. Detail component, we can make the related list equals false. Let's not include the related list here. Click on Express Logistics. Details of Express Logistics are here. Click on Pyramid. Fine. Do we understand how things are getting connected? So all that we have done is out of the list, one field we have taken and we have converted that into command link. On that command link, we have defined a parameter. Okay, so every time you click on that, any of the link, ID of that record is taken and supplied to the parameter. Okay, so P1 gets updated everyone someone clicks on the record. Okay, now this P1 is being used as the subject of the detail component, which is on the right hand side. So the detailed record gets displayed based on whatever value P1 has. Every time you click on a record, P1 value gets updated and this detail section also gets updated. That is what is happening. Is it simple or difficult to understand? Tell me. Have a quick look into the code and see if you can understand the entire code. So all that you have to do is you just have to look into line number 8, 9, 10 and then line number 19. So line number 9 is where I've defined the parameter inside a command line, and line 19 is where I'm calling that parameter. The rest everything I think we have already done in other sessions.
Jeet,
Yep.
can you please copy paste this code in the chat?
I'll copy paste this code in the chat. Before that, we have a small activity. We need to get a list of opportunities. So I want you guys to create the same page for opportunity, the same kind of a page. So on the left hand side I want list of opportunities, and on the right side I want to view the selected opportunity. Right. So let's quickly work on that particular page for opportunity. Here is the code being displayed on my page. Let's quickly do this.
Just only one question.
Mm-hmm.
Here you use dollar sign just before current page.
Mm-hmm.
What's that?
That's a syntax thing. So when you are actually dealing with the current page, you need to use this dollar sign.
It is referring to the current page.
Yes. Like, let's quickly create this. 5 minutes for us to create it, and then there are couple of more concepts which I'm going to talk about it. So let's quickly finish it off for opportunity. All right. So what we're going to do here is when I click on a record, you see that this page is taking a bit of time to load, right? Why is it taking a bit of time? The same concept, remember the switch type equals Ajax we used, because we did not want the entire page to get loaded. Now also the same thing is happening. When I click on a certain record, the entire page gets loaded. And if that happens, the efficiency of the page gets decreased. Right? The page becomes a little slow. And that's something that I don't want. I want my page to be, I don't want the page to be faster. I don't want the page to act slow. So what is the best way of doing that? You just have to do a small thing here. You have to identify that what area you want to refresh. I don't want to reload the entire page. Then I'll have to identify which area I need to reload. I just need to reload this page block, the line number 18. This is what needs to be reloaded, right? So all that you have to do is you just have to define an ID for that page block. Okay. You can give it whatever ID you want, block 1 or whatever you want. And then in the command link, there is an attribute called re-render. In the re-render, you have to define that ID. Got it? That's it. So in line 18, you have to give the ID to that section which needs to be re-rendered, and in the command link you have an attribute called re-render. So if you define a re-render and you specify a particular section, only that particular section will get rendered when someone clicks on the link. If this is not defined, then the entire page gets loaded. Okay, now since I've mentioned it, re-render, it's just gonna re-render or reload this section. The entire page does not get affected. So this will make your code or your page performance a little faster. See, now edge communication, chain point, now things are changing faster. Do you see this? Now this page has become a lot more faster. The entire page is not getting loaded, only this section is getting loaded. Is it correct? Do you have a question or doubt here? Simple, right? So that's the thing. So to make your page this kind of page, because we are passing parameter and we are updating one section of the page, to do the partial update, this is the trick. You have to define the ID for the section which needs to be reloaded, and you have to go to the command link and say re-render that section only. Okay, in case you don't define this, the entire page will get reloaded. Okay, but if you don't define this, only this particular section, sorry, if you don't define, then the entire page gets reloaded. If you have defined the section, then only that section gets reloaded, which makes your page a lot more efficient, right? So this thing can work with any command button or any command link, re-render concept. All right, so any such concept you can use this re-render concept here on it. Okay, so I'm gonna put this code in the chat window. You guys want, you can copy it from the chat window. I put it there. Right, so go back and work on this. People